Guys, we are now up to part 15 of the emergency storage shed clean out. One box or item each week, consistently, no excuses. That way I'll get it done before I depart this earth, hopefully. Let's go and have a look. And if you watched last week's episode, I did the two on the one day, so I'm doing this one the same time I filled last week's because I'll be away while you're watching this. I earmarked a milk crate full of bits and pieces we'll do. We might do something next to it as well, depends how quick we are. Let's go and grab it. Okay, let's do our traditional walk out to the emergency storage shed, which happens to be the entrance to my shed. So at least I can get through here now. At one stage it was a side shuffle to get in here. We have made a fair bit of progress in our previous 14 weeks, but there's still lots to do. So we said we'd do this one here. I'll take this into the bench shortly, but we might maybe grab these old headlights in this little tub as well. Let's see how we go with this one first. Okay, now I am making some progress in the rest of my shed as well. The thing I haven't got back to lately is a lot of repair jobs, and I've got a lot of them that are actually have parts that I've been waiting on. They're ready to go, but because I've got all this other stuff going on, I'll get to them when I get to them. We have to keep unboxing. That's the big commitment. Let's have a look what's in this milk crate. Alright, we have some hardware bits. There were some plumbing fittings, which I told you last time. I'm not sure what's in that tobacco tin. So not a great deal in here. Let's just get it all out while you've got good vision. I'm not sure what this is. Telecommunication cable? Is that just wire? It almost looked like grass trimmer cord, but no, I think it's electrical wire. It's nice fine stuff. Do I scrap it or do I keep it, because it might be good on test leads. It would be brand new, unused. What I might do is I might strip a little bit back and we'll just see if it's easy to solder, if it's tinned or something, because it would actually make really good test leads, this wire. Not that I want lots of test leads all in blue, but it might be, it's only going to be worth a few cents for scrap, so yeah, we'll check that out in a minute. We have an old peach halves tin from Ardmona, which was a local just north of here, big fruit growing area. The tin isn't old enough to be collectible, it's in kilograms. Oh, actually it says pounds and ounces, so it's probably a late 70s tin, because we changed into the metric weight system sort of early to mid 70s. I wonder if I could actually sell that. You know what, we might still put $5 on it in the shop and see how we go. Alright, what's in here? We have some tools, we have some hinges. Real mixed bag. We'll tip this out in a minute and we'll have a look in that one. We have quite a nice old ladle. It's a bit rusty. A steel ladle. You know what? I may well just use that. I reckon as far as melting lead, say wheel weights or something, I could easily just reach this into my wood fire over there on the side, which I light during winter. I would need an insulated handle because this of course will get very hot, but what a great way to melt little bits of lead. The lead fumes will go up the flue, so it'll be perfectly safe in my shed, and I'll be able to pour it out, perhaps make little ingots. A good way of purifying the lead, especially on things like wheel weights that have a lump of steel in them as well, the steel clip. Yeah, I would get $10 for it at the shop, but it might be more useful than just $10. It will need a clean up though. We have a couple of car horns. They look very rusty. I would say they're probably 70s era. They may be Ford or Holden car horns. I don't know if they've got a market that says RVB, which would be the brand, I guess. I'd say they're both the same. They look the same design. Different brackets on them though. Identical design otherwise. Although actually they're a mirror image, aren't they? I think I'll just quickly check eBay to see if they are worth anything. They're obviously not in very good condition, but if they're off a car that, or if they're a model that would be worth something, they'll probably be worth cleaning up. It's only surface rust after all. yeah, we'll check those on eBay and we'll give them a clean up perhaps if they're worth it. Here we have some pretty cool looking tongs. Oh, they're almost seized, but they'll be worth cleaning up. How cool are they? They're like, oh geez, you need massive hands to open them. They're like giant sugar cube tongs. I'm not exactly sure what they'd be for. They meet quite nicely at the end there. Well worth cleaning up. We might put them on the wire wheel, give them a buff up, and they'll certainly be sellable. I reckon we'd get $10 for those cleaned up. A wood chisel that's been used and abused, that is a mess at the end. It's rounded. It looks like they've been using it to chisel bricks or something. The handle's actually okay, and certainly the chisels can be dressed up, but that one does need a fair bit of work. I think it's a Titan, if I can read the brand. So we might, yes, it is a Titan. We'll give that a buff up. We will still get $5 for that in the shop, even though the end has been butchered. Anyone that knows their way around a wood chisel would be able to repair that. And because the handle's good, would get $5 for that. And the last thing in this milk crate is a galvanised boat anchor. And it looks like it was $7.20. I wonder if that was new price. It would have to be. What's that say, £3 maybe? That would have to be a retail price because no one at a garage sale is going to have a price like $7.20. That's in pretty good condition. It's well galvanised. There's plenty of boating going on around here with the lakes and the river, so I'm sure I'd get $10 for that through the shop. Really just needs a quick wash up, $10. Okay, we're probably not going to get our 100 out of this. We nearly always seem to get 100 or more out of a box, but given that there wasn't much in this, I don't think we're going to do that. But let's get the crate out of the road, and perhaps we'll go through these boxes and just see if we've got any hidden value. Okay guys, it's the next evening. I'm back to finish going through these little tubs of stuff, and I apologise for the audio in the first section. Hopefully it's much better now. My wireless mic wasn't working and I didn't realise till later. So let's tip these out and see what extra value we can get. I did price out some other stuff, and surprisingly I'm up to about $60. So can we indeed make $100 out of this tub too? We're going to need to find something pretty good. And this looks like just hardware. I think that can go in the recycle bin. Hinges do sell. These are Lane hinges, Australian made, and they're not overly rusty. I sometimes make up a little box lot of them. Well, there's 4 of them. Put them in a little tub here. And I do actually sell a lot of hinges through the shop. Oh yeah, that one's okay too. They're all Lane. So they're good quality ones. Now the bolts, I do normally sell bolts as well in box lots or tin lots. You know, I might have a tin this size and I might put $10 on it and have a lot of large bolts in it. And farmers and engineers and people that do a lot of home mechanics do buy them. But I'm going to start keeping a stock here because as I get my shed more organised and I start doing more projects, I am going to need some of this hardware. And it doesn't take up much space. It's not going to clutter my shed, and it's really nice to have hardware on hand when you need it, particularly because at the moment our town here doesn't even have a hardware store. There was one, a family operated business which had been going for generations, and they finally closed up, and now we have to drive 20 minutes to the nearest hardware, which is really disappointing when you only need one bolt to finish a project. So I'm certainly going to keep these. There would be some value if I wanted to sell them, but these will be going in the keep pile. And likewise springs, you guys know I keep springs, and when I get too many of them they also sell. So there's not going to be any value in the rest of this tub. We will probably get, oh look, we might get $10 for those hinges. We'll see if any more turn up. But the rest of this is just hardware that I'm keeping here. Now this next little tub, we will see what's in this cigarette tin. We have some plumbing fittings. Now, for exactly the same reason as I just explained, I'm going to keep some of these plumbing fittings. I probably won't keep them all. There's some brass taps here. But, you know, there's a bung which would be handy if I was doing some plumbing work. There's some of these ferrules from compression fittings. And I was doing some plumbing recently, and I mentioned, I think at the start of this video, maybe it was the last one, that I was looking for a plumbing fitting to do a job. Turns out I needed two the same, and I found one, and it was really annoying because I couldn't finish the job. So I am going to keep a little bit of stock of plumbing fittings. I will reevaluate what I need every so often, and some will go into the brass scrap bin. But at this stage, I'm not going to get rid of brass fittings. I probably don't need... Oh, yes, it may actually be handy. So I'm going to keep a little bit of this stuff, and it doesn't take up much room. So I know you guys, I've told you guys I'm supposed to be tough and not keep things and sell things. But as I said, we don't have a hardware store in town at the moment. So it's more convenient to have a little bit of stuff on hand. It's different if I lived around the corner from a hardware. I'd just sell everything and go and buy what I needed. Enough of that. Let's have a look in this last tin. Oh, we wanted to have a look in this. Okay, let's have a peek together. And, oh, it's tap washers. Okay. Well, those of you who've been paying attention know that I actually have a little drawer just over there now marked tap washers. So I don't need to keep too many, but these are some of the older style that I don't have. I'll keep a couple of these in the drawer. The tin itself, not quite good enough to really get $5. Yeah, look, I might give it a little clean and a bit of a wipe over with beeswax. We'll see if we can bring it up a bit. If we can, we'll get another $5, but it might be pushing it. It looks a little rough. We'll get back to you on that one. Okay, the last tin, and as I said, we're going to try and get $5 for this tin, so I'll try not to damage the label. And I know there's some bigger hinges in here. And, oh, I see something else pretty exciting. Yeah, there's a bit of muck in there too. I think that's had rats through it. It's a bit messy. We're going to have to give it a good scrub before we get $5 for it. Okay, what do we have? All right, well, this looked like it was a little tool pouch. It looks... No, it's not. I don't think it's leather, but it's old. And there's screwdriver fittings. We have a Phillips head, a flat blade, and a short Phillips head. I don't think the handle's in here. No, it's not. So, given that they're quite rusty, I don't think they've got any real value. If I had the handle with them, I could probably sell them for sure. But they're just going to go in my scrap metal, my heavy scrap bin. We have a drill bit here that hasn't got enough going for it, and it's quite rusty. That can go in the heavy steel tin as well. So that little holder is no good. We have a light globe, and it looks to be perhaps the sort you'd find in a microwave or in some appliance. I do have a box of light globes that I keep at the shop. I think that one might be okay. Because quite often if I'm testing and tagging electrical appliances, and sometimes I have a blown globe, and it's nice to have a stack of these on hand. So we'll take that one to the shop, but no value there. This tool. It may be worth $5. I don't know if people still have these things around, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I'm going to include that in an upcoming mystery object video that I keep threatening, and I've just about got enough objects to do that now. I reckon I'd put $5 on that. We'll add that to the list as a mystery tool at this stage. I will clean it up a bit. We have a little spanner here, and it is a Sid Chrome spanner, 1/2 inch 9/16 open ender. Bit rusty, but that will buff up quite well. Sid Chrome are a good brand. This is probably Australian made. I might get $5 for it. I do sell a lot of Sid Chrome spanners. Another large drill bit that's been someone's sharpened that at home, and they've got the angles woefully wrong, so that can just go in the heavy steel. These Bakelite switches, I've talked about these before. That one appears to work nicely. It just needs a bit of a clean up. Well, there's $5. They sell quite well. Here we have an older style screwdriver, and I've featured these before on my channel. This one's not too bad. I think it would actually buff up really nicely, although the end is very rounded, but we could quite easily dress the end up. Depending how that cleans up, it's going to be at least a 5, but you may be surprised how well it cleans up, and if it looks the part, we'll go for 10. Here we have a little screwdriver, which the point is almost rusted to oblivion. It is branded something. I think it says Turner. And what's it say on that side? I can't read that. I'll get a couple of photos up on the screen. Turner made, well, they made lawnmowers. They also made hardware like door latches, cupboard handles, that sort of stuff. I'm wondering what that, it might have been out of a toolkit of a mower. Not sure on that. We'll give it a clean up and a better look. Don't know if it's worth much. Right, we have some big hinges here. There's 3 of them. They're in excellent condition. These are lane ones as well. So, oh, there's 4. Excellent. So with a bit of a clean up, I reckon we'd get $10 for that set of 4 hinges. They're going to clean up really well. They look copper. They won't be copper, guaranteed. I'd say they're just copper plated. Quick magnet check. Yes, so they're just steel, but they're copper plated. They're going to clean up well. There's $10. Oh, it looks like all the original screws are here for those hinges. And judging by the verdigris, the greenish blue corrosion, they may be brass screws. They're not. They're obviously copper plated. So they're just steel, and they're clearly quite corroded, and that's the colour that copper goes when it corrodes. Hope the light's okay for you to see that. They're looking quite greenish. So I don't think they're worth trying to clean up or save. I've got plenty of new old stock wood screws. It's a shame they weren't brass. They could have gone in the brass bin, but they can just go in the scrap steel. There's an old socket there that's too rusty to do anything with. A couple of magnetic cupboard latches, but again, they're too rusty to bother trying to save and use. Probably still get away with those in the steel because they're magnets and steel plates inside the plastic housing. Another little socket, a little bit for a screwdriver, but they're also badly rusted because there's definitely been mice in here or rats. Now, I've saved the best till last. A pull handle. Now, I won't bother saving this for a mystery object, but most of you will probably know, some won't. This is from an early toilet cistern with the original chain and the old cisterns, and sometimes people restore them. They were a cast iron, large cast iron sort of shaped box that set up on the wall, which was your water reservoir, and there was a lever across the top, and this chain hung down from one side, and to flush the toilet you pulled the chain. So many young ones these days will not have any idea that that's how you used to flush a toilet. They're all push buttons. Some of them these days are automatic sensors. That's a nice original old toilet pull. It could have also been, or it could be used for a servant's bell or something like that, or you could be novel and have one at your front door so that visitors could ring a bell, although you wouldn't want it to be stolen. That will clean up quite well. There's a little chip to the top edge there, but it's quite old. Oh, there's a little nick there too, but it's kind of all part of its character. I'm going to clean that up. A few rust stains will come off it nicely. The top is brass, and that has blown our value estimate of this box into the green, and I reckon we'd probably get at least $30 for that. I might even price it at $40. Depends how well it cleans up. Maybe $30 because of the little chips on it. Excellent. Great little find. And that's it. I'll just clean up the bit of this mess. I'll clean up a few things I was going to, and we'll be back shortly with the notepad. So I have the notepad written out. I have everything priced except one thing, and I'll take you on a quick little journey. The little screwdriver here, the vintage screwdriver. I recently had a comment in one of my unboxing videos to say, can you show us again how you clean your tools up? So this one will represent a couple of little processes. It's not going to morph into a screwdriver restoration video, but I'll just show you how I clean one of these little screwdrivers up, and really value add, because most people, unless they knew that they could do this themselves, most people wouldn't give you two cents for this. So let's clean it up and see how much we can actually get for it. So there's 3 things I'm going to do quickly. I don't always go to this much trouble. If it was just steel, I'd probably just put it on the wire wheel. I will use the wire wheel to buff the brass and the blade up. There is a name on there, I think, that I can't read at the moment. I'm going to use a file and just clean the end up to make it back into a useful screwdriver. And we're going to maybe just sand the handle, just get some sandpaper, take it back to a bit nicer timber. It looks like it might be a little bit of rot on that corner. I'm not going to go to too much trouble, but if I can clean the timber up and then just smear a bit of beeswax over it, it will look a lot better. So they're the three things we're going to do. Let's put it on the wire wheel first. Okay, now just to give it a bit of a buff up on the wheel. So the first stage complete and only took a few minutes. I don't like to buff it right back to bright shiny metal, although you see the brass polishes up really easily because it's much softer than steel. And you will also notice that there's a name. And I think it says Sheffield, W. Kent, Sheffield. So a little buff like that on a wire wheel leaves a really nice patina, and it makes it presentable as an old tool. So now we're just going to clean up the handle. We'll just get some sandpaper on that. Okay, I've just got some fine emery tape here, and I don't want to take too much off it. I want to leave some of the character on the handle, and you know, if you take it back to new timber, the tool doesn't look old anymore. But we'll get all the years of grease and dust and dirt and everything off there, and yeah, just clean it up a bit, and then the beeswax will give it a little bit of a sheen, and it should look not quite nice. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that handle now. It's still got some marks and some stains, but it's nice and smooth, and it looks like it's a historic handle for an early screwdriver. So all we got to do now is clean the end up. Now it's very rounded. I don't know if it was actually ground that way purposely. It seems like it's a long way from a screwdriver. I'm just going to square the end up, and it's important not to do this on the grinder because you will overheat the metal and you will upset the hardness of it, the temper. So I think a file will clean that off quite nicely. I've got a nice sharp file here. So I'll put it back in the vise, and I'll protect the blade from getting marked from the jaws. We'll lower it down a bit actually, so we don't get too much vibration. Probably a rag's not ideal here. Probably should use a piece of copper to protect the screwdriver, but that should be all right. And I've got a nice sharp good file here, and we'll just square the end off. So you can see that's squared it off quite nicely. I might go a little bit further, and I think I'll just dress across the face on each side just to square it off, because it still looks rather rounded on the edges there. And there we go. It's a little rough filing freehand. It really needs to be in a jig to get it nice and square, but it's come up pretty good. It's square on the end. You can see that glint of nice fresh metal on the end. Guaranteed now you could at least do up a screw or undo a screw with this, whereas before you wouldn't have had a hope. So all I'm going to do now is just put a bit of, well, I've got some paste wax here, or a beeswax or something, but I find this stuff pretty good. And this will protect the steel, stop it from rusting. And put a bit over the collar, and we'll also rub a bit into the timber. And you can see it darkens it up nicely, brings out a bit of the grain, looks magnificent. And job's done. We have a restored, or sympathetically restored, early screwdriver, and I'm sure that will sell quite well. Now we're in focus there. That looks a bit better. I'm sure that will sell very well. You can see what I mean about the handle. I like the handles to look old. If you sanded it right back to bare timber, you lose all that lovely old patina. So that'll go in the shop now, and I reckon it's gone from a 2-cent screwdriver, and I reckon I'm going to try and get $15 for it now. More than what I thought before, because it came out really well, and it's branded. So now we can look back at the notepad and go through our prices. The steel ladle I decided I wouldn't keep. I did clean it a little bit. I didn't buff it up at all other than just cleaning the rust out of the bowl, and it's quite pitted. So I suspect it may spring a leak at some stage. So I've decided I'm going to sell it. I didn't clean that up otherwise. We'll get $10 for that. The car horns, I did a bit of checking, and some of them do sell on eBay. Some actually sold for quite a bit, but these ones aren't in the best condition. I thought we'll put 20 the pair, and someone will jump at that surely. The tongs 10. The wood chisel, I'll show you that one. Cleaned up really nicely as well. Pretty much the same treatment, bit of a buff up and a little bit of wax on the handle. I didn't attempt to clean the end up. It needs to be a bit more precise than what I did with the screwdriver, so someone else can do that. So I think we just had $5 on that. The boat anchor 10, the hinges, I just went for 5 on the small hinges. The tobacco tin, I didn't show you cleaning this up, but have a look at that. I used some 4O steel wool and then just smeared some wax over it again, and that's cleaned up really quite well actually. It's surprising how good that came up. And it's in good nick inside, so we'll easily get $5 for that now. Lots of value adding going on here. The mystery tool 5, the spanner I thought would go for 5. The Bakelite switch cleaned up nicely. The screwdriver you've just seen. The Turner screwdriver, yes, as you saw earlier from the photos, it said shockproof, or was it shockproof? I can't remember now. Shockless, it says. I cleaned the end up on that too, filed it. As you can see, it's now able to do or undo a screw. Cleaned up quite well. I found one of these that actually sold online for $15, so we'll put $5 in that in the shop. I think Turner, as I remember now, I think Turner actually made a range of hand tools and screwdrivers, so that's obviously an electrician's screwdriver, being shockless, insulated handle, I guess that means. Where are we up to here? The langer hinges, the toilet puller went for 30, so that gives us a total of $145 out of that one milk crate of things. And I was worried we wouldn't get to $100. Amazing what value is hiding in my shed. On top of that value, we've got some hardware to keep, some plumbing fittings to keep, and the wire. I cut a bit off. It's tinned wire, and it's quite, we get a focus there, it's multi-strand, it's quite thick wire actually, and I soldered one end just to make sure that solder takes to it nicely, and it solders beautifully. So I'm actually going to keep this spool. I may make some test leads, but this wire will be really handy for making jumpers on circuit boards if there's some bad copper tracks or something. It's nice and thin, and yet it's really good quality wire. So that will find a spot in the shed and in the workshop there, and I will use that over the years. It'll probably last me the rest of my life. I also didn't mention these tongs. I buffed them up, but not to the extent that you saw me buff the other things up. I didn't want to take a lot of the green paint off, so I just cleaned the rusty areas a little bit, and they operate quite smoothly now, although I can't for the life of me open them out with my hand because they're such big tongs. You actually need 2 hands to open them right out. But anyway, we'll get $10 for them, and they look great with a lot of the original green paint still on them. So thanks for watching, guys. Another successful unboxing. This was part 15, I think. So we're still making progress. We're still forging ahead. I'm not letting anything get in the road of this obligation. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Catch you next time. Bye for now.